Hi, and good morning, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy midweek morning to join me. I really do appreciate it. In all seriousness, I feel like I wouldn't be doing, what I'm trying to set out to do here, in the world if I wasn't able to sort of immediately kind of talk about some things that are, of pertinent nature. And I think one of those things is recognizing what I believe to be is going to, like, I don't know how I'm having a difficult time talking this morning, but I'm going to let this run just so that you guys can see how I try and get into whatever it is that I'm doing, just almost like, immediately after I've woken up. And you guys got to go to sleep with me last night, right? Now you get to wake up with me. But there's a really serious topic that I want to talk about, and it's like, okay, observing the fact that nearly 100 million people populate the lovely country of Iran, and how, regardless of what your geopolitical beliefs are. I think it's important to look at the facts, right? And the facts are Iran is currently landlocked from having any sort of direct access to its ally Russia in the north, and moreover, again, sans the whole political beliefs of what we carry ourselves. I just think that it's pretty clear Israel has no interest in helping Iran, and for whatever reason. And I think what's terrible and what should be noted about that, right, dear United Nations, a petition for sort of evaluating, reviewing, and or auditing some countries that are a part of the United Nations, but somehow seem to, not follow the very doctrines that are set forth by the lovely United Nations. And a good example of that is Israel, obviously, right? In saying that the Israeli government has specifically said that, like, they can help Iran. And what's the problem in Iran, other than the fact that Israel and other countries in that region are, colluding to sort of allow it so that Iran has no future by taking away their water, right? And not allowing them access or any sort of resources to fix the situation. They could, in fact, be the first civilization in modern history with a population of more than 50 people to, like, collapse almost overnight as a result of them not having any water. And no one's really talking about that, right? Because I guess 100 million people in a country that is not doing what the United States wants it to do is a country that we aren't supposed to care about. I mean, forget the near 100 million people that live there, and let's just focus on Israeli interests and United States, Western allied interests. Again, call it what you will, but I do think, and I will postulate, that those are violations of all different kinds of accords that have been agreed upon. And in case you didn't know, accords are pacts, essentially formal pacts made by sovereign nations amongst one another to recognize sovereignty, to recognize agency within the arbitrary borders that we define or that we create here amongst our people on this planet. And so that's how that works, right? And again, Israel has not just theoretically, but has literally not been a participating member in following some of those accords, all of which are included but not limited to the occupation of Palestine. Again, say what you want about how you feel, those are in fact the facts. And as much as I've always said publicly, I support the Israeli people, but I can never fully support the Israeli government, right? And I have no interest in vindicating fellas like Benjamin Netanyahu, who are currently going through their own sort of rehearsals of audits that are being, directed towards them from entities that can hold people like him accountable, but I think will not. You feel me? Especially in an age where the current American fascist government is very interested in pro-Israeli, things and ideologies. And it's like, what's the big deal anyway? You feel me? Like Iran and all of that part of the country, like how is not being able to work with close to 100 million people, like that should be a good thing, that should be there's a lot of people there, there's probably a lot of potential there, there's a lot of history there. Forget again like what you believe, right? So far as it is like religious things, I'm just thinking on like a productivity level, regardless of what their governmental like setup is. I could care less. What I could care about, and what I absolutely dare say must care about, right? Because like I'm a person, you're a person, so far as I know, unless there's 100 million lizard people that live there, but still they're alive and sentient, and I still think that we should help them, regardless, right? But that's a silly thing to say. I just understand that it doesn't matter what kind of government that these people have, or what kind of religious beliefs they carry with them. It's just real important that we recognize that there are definitely not nearly 100 million people like emphatically involved in like wanting to overthrow the Israeli or American government. Like that's not a thing, that's not a thing at all. And in fact, can you blame places like that for carrying some resentment towards what is inarguably, a directed attack towards them? I mean, I don't know. I might feel a certain type of way about a certain type of group of people who, like, target me too, you feel me? And in fact, I think that I do, which is why I'm a socialist here in America, trying to deter fascism by simply having the conversation, you feel me? And trying to get people to recognize that if the world's populated, with just a few billion people or whatever, and 100 million people are at risk of like literal famine and starvation and needless unaliving, and we know this, right? And in fact, we know it so intimately, again, that countries and governments, should I say governments specifically like Israel, are making these proclamations. They're publicly saying that unless Iran doesn't do exactly what Israeli government officials want them to do, then they will not help them get water. Like, again, a very basic human right. And Israel has done this before by refusing and perpetuating blockades for critical supplies in areas that have been deemed to need those critical supplies. Again, like areas that children and women and innocent civilians, like that's where those supplies try to get to. And oftentimes out of spite and out of ill-found strategy, again, there's not a religion in the world, and there's not a secular government in the world that can humanely say that even when they're at war with another country, like take that war out that is with another government on the local populace and the innocent civilians that have no involvement whatsoever in that conflict, right? Like, these people are just trying to live, you feel me? Like, that's literally what they're trying to do, and they are unable to do that because a handful of rich people have decided that a proxy war over ideology is more important than hundreds of millions of lives. I am not the guy, I know, as it concerns like math, and all these like things and stuff. But I do know that even my dumbass understands the very basic human concept of diplomacy and, like not bullying other people to get what you want. Like, you can do that, doesn't often work out in your favor, and rightfully so. You shouldn't bully things, bully ways or bully people into getting things and or doing things in ways that would not be done to begin with. You feel me? And so, yeah, friendly reminder, there's nearly 100 million people that are about to be in some needless, devastating kind of a climate, and there's definitely something we can do about that. We can be more diplomatic, we can stop bombing Iran. Donald Trump is not allowed to just enact wars. Friendly reminder, these things do require the approval of Congress, and or at least they should. There's no imminent threat. I mean, last time I checked, Iran didn't do anything to America, so like I'm kind of wondering why Donald Trump has now, over the past couple of weeks, done things while the government has been closed, mind you, that have been completely unconstitutional and have in fact, we can debate war crimes all we want, but like if you needed a clear example of war law and the concept of when you break that law made, in time of war as a crime, then like, I don't know, take that where you will. I'm just saying that right now it is a fact that we are utilizing taxpayer money. You feel me? Just like good old fascists do in a corporate socialist world, where they take your money and buy these weapons of mass destruction. You feel me? I mean, that's what they are. I mean, any weapon can cause a lot of destruction. I'd argue they're all objects and or items of that could potentially lead to mass unnecessary unalivings. You feel me? And so, anyways, yeah, those are things that are happening right now. I mean, you also realize that while the Department of Labor is continuing to literally lie to the American public about job growth, I mean, apparently the last 2 months haven't happened, and the Department of Labor and the Secretary have gone back and have, literally made it so that they've taken away the real numbers, and now we're talking about an era of like in American history where like jobs are aplenty and no one is hurting, and none of that is true. None of that is true. Without a doubt, there aren't any jobs. The media continues to lie and gaslight all of us, and another good example of that is the conflict in Venezuela right now, and what a bad time, to be a Venezuelan or Iranian, like low key, no caps, because the United States fascist government seems to be very interested in I guess more oil deposits. I'm not sure. We have enough of our own oil, but it's all good. It's not, but I'm just saying that under the guise of drug cartels, I guess, which now have just started to come from Venezuela, Donald Trump has usurped his authority to allow for there to be bombings on these like little boats or whatever, and all while saying that like that's what it's about, when in reality we're parking our big asses right on the coastline of sovereign waters, in the middle of the ocean near Venezuela, ready to do whatever I guess is necessary in the eyes of the current American fascist government to overthrow Chavez and his government, right? I mean, only because if it's not somebody the CIA approves of, it's definitely not somebody that needs to be running any sovereign government with any kind of, appearance of sovereign agency, I guess. And that's kind of the way that it's working right now. Just a friendly reminder that there are literally hundreds of millions of people if we include the Venezuelan population and with the Iranian population, that are, going to like not have the best foreseeable future. And again, like, can you guys all not agree that, I don't think we have any real individual problems with people that actually are going to be impacted by all of the literal bombardment of violent acts placed upon them. Like, I'm just saying that now is the time to talk about these things. And, we shouldn't use politics as a device to negate people the very basic things they need, like water. And I'm just saying, I cannot support that, and I don't think you support that either, because that's it's an evil thing to do. It's like I just can't even put that into sort of any context, because it's not something that I can even imagine, thinking. And so with that, we'll end this video. Hey guys, I really appreciate you watching these videos and hearing me rant and rave about these topics that I'm sure otherwise you might not get to hear about, or if you do, you'd hear about them in a different kind of a way from a different person who is not me. And honestly, I wouldn't like that very much, What a conflict of interest, right? I just want you to watch me all the time on repeat. I'm just playing. I, find this topic to be very passionate for me. Anytime like human rights and like hundreds of millions of people are a part of the equation, it's really important that my big ass and loud ass mouth, tries to advocate for some kind of diplomatic resolution, just because, again, diplomacy saves money. For the record, it's a lot cheaper to talk than it is to amass weapons of mass destruction and violate accords and conventions and hire a team of lawyers to make sure that what I'm doing is in fact not just ethical but lawful. I mean, it's really cheap. It's a cheap like thing to do, to be able to work things out in a diplomatic fashion. And it's what's good for diplomacy is good for the entire population, be it monarchs or dictators or high popes or priests or whatever. When people get along, especially at the highest levels of authority and succession and so forth, those are only good things, right? I mean, the last time I checked, 9 kings got together just a few years before one of them was shot and started World War One. I'm just saying that had those 9 kings been able to be a little more diplomatic in the way that they were running their establishments, and in this case, entire nations and countries of sovereign people, it was probably in their best interest to not do the things that they did, because 100 years later, a handful of those men are no longer in places of positions of authority. There is some evidence to say that at least 4 of them and or their families are doing quite well, and that may have been a part of their plan. Who knows? I'm just saying that all of what I'm saying can be fact-checked, and it's not an opinion. It's definitely something that happened, and only the things I feel about that factual event are in fact opinions, you know what I mean? And so I hope that you guys have a really good day. I hope that the Iranian people and the Venezuelan people, are able to sort of peacefully, I just hope that those 2 places in the world know that not every American feels the way that this current administration is making it look. And so that's important, because without that, I guess we all could be, that much more complicit, as if we aren't already, by not talking about these things, you feel me, to begin with, and allowing them to happen in the first place. So my name is Albert. This is Vlogs About Nothing. Thank you for watching my show, and I'll see y'all later on today, alright? Bye. Have a really good day too, by the way. Bye.